Hey guys, I am hanging out in the reptile room here, one of the many reptile rooms at Josh's Frogs. And introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Lori. I'm the New Caledonian species keeper. I take care of a lot of really cool animals. This here is a Leachianus gecko. He is roughly 2 years old and he's not even completely full grown yet. Look at how amazing this guy is. This is the world's largest species of gecko, by the way.
The world's largest.
Mm-hmm. They're super cool. Adults can get from like about my wrist to my elbow, maybe even longer, and about as thick. So he's still got a lot of growing to do. But this guy is amazing. They're one of my dream geckos for sure. I just love their size. They're very lazy. They don't really try to get away from you. They do have a bit of an attitude sometimes, but honestly, they're sweet.
When they have the attitude, what do?
So they squeak and they whistle. They also puff up and they bark. And it is very loud and it is very scary. But as long as you respect their space, you don't have to worry about them trying to bite you. I would not recommend being bitten. It probably would hurt. Knock on wood, I have not been bitten. But these guys are just fantastic.
2 seconds later into the video.
Right, chomp. Yeah. These guys, again, are nocturnal, so they're only going to be active at nighttime, but you will find them basking either vertically or horizontally on logs and such. That's why we have it kind of oriented, like angled and whatnot, because during the daytime they're going to be sleeping and they like to absorb the UVB that we provide for them. Most animals can benefit from UVB, so I like to, you know, take care of my breeders. So make sure they get everything they need. Right, buddy?
So tell us about this guy right here.
So this is a gargoyle gecko. He's found on the islands of New Caledonia. They also share islands with things like crested geckos, Leachianus, chihuahuas, all kinds. These guys are nocturnal. They're going to be more awake and active at night, and they're also called gargoyles because as they get older, oh, he's getting angry, they get these little bony protrusions on either side of their head that look like horns. And this guy is a little baby, one that we bred here. He's super, super cute. He's got amazing patterns. They eat insects, but they also are frutivores. They like to eat fallen down fruits from trees. They like to wait till the rinds are soft enough for them to eat. They also will eat things like honey and nectar. Here we feed them a Pangea diet, and then we give them insects once a week. They can have a little bit of a temperament. Gargoyles can be a little bit grumpy, but don't let that scare you. They're nice geckos. He is roughly 2 months old.
So not that old.
Nope, they are pretty big when they hatch out. They usually weigh anywhere around like 2.6 grams. Sometimes they can be bigger. Sometimes I've had them hatch out at 3. But these guys are just amazing. I love their little pot bellies. They're adorable. They have sticky feet, so they're able to climb up almost any surface.
On any surface.
Yeah. They also like to take leaps of faith. And interesting.
And they trust themselves, so they're big leaps.
Oh, yeah. They just totally go for it. They just, you know, in the wild, they would expect there to be a branch or a leaf to land on. So when handling them, just keep in mind that
They're probably going to try to jump away from you.
Yes, that's correct.
Very cool. Well, thank you for showing us this guy.
Sure.
All right, guys. Now I'm hanging out with Nick. And Nick, you got some cave geckos?
Oh yeah, we got some Chinese cave geckos in here. There's 4 of them in here. There's 3 females to 1 male. They all seem to do
look at
pretty
them.
well.
They're kind of blending in there a little bit, but they
They all kind of like to hide. They choose the same spot most of the time, so they all just hang out together. And then we also have some of the more, I like to call them off-brand, but they're just different species and different locales of the same thing. So we have the Yamashine otherwise known as the Kume cave geckos in here. These guys are more known for their yellow eyes. Let's see if I can get this one to come out here.
So the guys we saw a minute ago actually had red eyes.
Yep. Come here, bud. Calm down. There you go. Choop. So these ones, their common name is the Kume caves, or the Kume Islands, or the Yamashine cave geckos, which is just their scientific name. And then further down, we have ones that are a lot more sought after that we're starting to work with. These are the Japanese cave geckos. And these guys are really cool because, unlike the Chinese cave geckos, these guys keep their juvenile coloration for a lot longer. So they won't really bland out like some of the other ones have. Like, I'll show you here some of our baby Chinese cave geckos. And you can see, compared to the adults, that their coloration, their bands are a lot more sharp, a lot more contrast, and they're a lot more colorful. They eventually lose that color as they get older.
So these guys are another communal lizard species that we're very excited to be working with. These guys are Dune Geckos. They love to hang out in small colonies. These guys are found in northeastern Africa. They're usually found either at or around dry riverbeds. So the soil, the sand that they're digging down into is very damp, but the surface of the soil that they live in typically stays pretty dry. These guys are adults. This is an adult female, and they stay super tiny. There are nocturnal species, which are most active at night. And like you saw earlier, during the day, they're typically hiding out in their little hides. Super cute. This is a species that is endemic to northeastern Africa and parts of the Middle East. They are usually found in dry riverbeds, so the sand that they live on top of stays pretty dry, but as they dig down, it gets more and more moist. These are a very communal species, so they love to live in small colonies and groups. And they are a nocturnal species, so they're most active during the night, and they are super voracious eaters. They can pound food like no other.
They're small. Look at that. Look at that.
That is an adult right there. And that is about as big as they get. They stay super
That's
tiny.
full size for these guys.
What we got here, man? Right here we got a really fun species of Dwarf Monitor from Australia. These guys are pygmy mulga monitors. If you've ever heard of Ackie monitors, these guys are pretty closely related. They're all in the same subgenus of Odatria. These guys are a very highly active species of lizard. They are more arboreal than our Ackies, so if you'll see this guy up here, all the way up here, they love to live in dry tree hollows and such, where they come from. And they're very heavily adapted lizard eaters. So most lizards, the muscles they use to move their arms and to breathe are either very heavily associated or they're the literal same muscles. So most lizards can't run and breathe at the same time. They have to stop in order to breathe. So if you see under here, sometimes they'll puff up their throats as a threat display, but they've got specialized throat muscles that really help them to force air down their lungs, so that when other lizards have to stop and breathe, they can still run and they'll catch up and eat them.
So that's how they're going after the lizards. So they're adapted so they can go ahead and run and breathe. And
Yep.
the other lizards aren't.
Yep.
And so they're taking them off.
Yep. That's exactly right, and they've adapted to have a very high metabolism, a very fast lifestyle as a result of all the extra energy they get from very quality lizard prey. These guys are super fun, very intelligent species of animals. They learn patterns very quickly. They know exactly who I am, and it takes a while to build up a really good relationship with a lot of monitor species, but once you do, it's super rewarding. So what I've got here is a giant horned lizard. Their genus Latin name is Phrynosoma, which means toad-bodied. You've probably heard these guys called horny toads before as well. As you can see, they've got a very squat, frog-like appearance. This species specifically comes from southwestern Mexico and Guatemala. there's a bunch of really cool things about these guys. For one, they are highly adapted anteaters. So there's a chemical present in a lot of and most ants called formic acid that is toxic to a lot of animals, but for these guys, they have evolved to metabolize and gain benefits out of it. So their strategy is they'll hang around ant hills and termite mounds and that sort of thing and just kind of pick off the bugs as they're coming by all day. As a result of that as well, in particular horned lizards have evolved to be very social and very communal with each other. They've got a very...
there's another one. Look, he's peeking out.
They've got a very robust set of displays and communications with head bobbing and tail wagging and that sort of thing in order to communicate with other members of their species. They're so used to hanging around each other, in fact, that by this point, we've found more success keeping these guys together than apart. So they really do want roommates in order to do well in captivity.
So if you're gonna get any of these guys, you're not just getting one.
No, you're at least getting two. And they get the more fun the more that you have.
Cool. All right, these are the guys that you'll find under lots of different stuff here in North America.
Yep, all over. And normally you can just find the gray ones. It's normally what they kind of look like when you're just looking around outdoors. But every now and then you get them in these really crazy colors. Magic potions were originally isolated from under someone's flower pot they found in their backyard. So every now and then in the wild, you'll get these crazy genetic
Combinations.
Combination mutations, and come out with some really cool looking pods.
And so you guys are actually isolating those and breeding those. When you find a cool combination or something like that, or when it comes out while you're breeding another type, you're basically...
Yeah, so here's a great example of that. So these are orange Porcellio laevis, and as Max was going through today and sorting them, we pulled out all the bright yellow ones, and we'll do this every time we go and make new colonies.
Oh, there's the bright one, yellow ones right there. Let me see.
Yep.
Show those right next to it. So those ones are a lot lighter compared to the ones that are in that bin.
Yeah, and this will do two things. It will ensure the purity of our main colony, so that'll make sure that the yellows aren't breeding in with the normal oranges. We're not kind of just getting this mottled orangey yellow pod. So our main colony will stay orange, but then we can also isolate this out and start trying to make like these high yellow
variety.
Yeah. And
so it's a different morph that you're actually breeding.
Yep, and that's one of the fun parts of isopods is they have such a high fecundity, such high reproductive rates that you have multiple, what's the word I'm thinking of? Generations, where it's easy to isolate different ones and play with the genetics and pull out really unique looking ones and do stuff like that. So similar to like a ball python hobby, but somewhat more reasonable just because you can do it all in a couple years just because they breed so quick.
Yeah.
And so
you go through generations a lot faster.
Yes. Yep. Yeah, so like powder blues, for example, that are in everything. I think it's every 20 days, 21 days they have a batch of babies, and then it only takes a couple months for them to grow up to adults. And so you just think about that. It's really easy to keep coming back and finding unique ones and pulling them out. So isopods are actually classified as crustaceans. So they're closely related to lobsters, crabs, shrimp. So we like to call them land lobsters just because it's funny. But unlike every other thing we have up on this floor, they aren't bugs, they aren't insects. So they breed with modified gills that they have underneath them.
Oh, they actually have gills?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they actually have gills. So if you can kind of see in the very back end of them, but they got these little gills. I'm not going to hold them here for too long because shockingly they're not a fan of it. But, oh, she said no more.
Rolled up.
Rolled up. Can't open me anymore.
It's a little Pokemon.
Exactly.
But the gills allow them to breathe normal air.
Yeah, so they can breathe normal air, but they need saturated air. So they still need moisture in order to breathe.
Okay.
So that's why you don't really want to keep isopods in like just a dry bin.
They wouldn't make it in a dry...
Exactly. So even isopods that come from really arid environments still need to have a humid section in order to molt, shed their skin, breathe properly. So as you see, most of them all have like beds of sphagnum moss and stuff. Now Cubaris like it a little wetter than most, and so the bin naturally is just a little more humid. And then we give them limestone chunks just because they come from limestone caves in Southeast Asia, so we try to replicate their natural environment as best as possible. Give them the best diet, hopefully get the best reproductivity out of them.
Cool, man.
Yeah, pretty great.
Well, thank you for showing us that.
Absolutely.
Very cool.
Talk about paws all day with anybody.
And Josh's frogs also got tons of plants. You guys have, look at all this, look at this. This is Sarah, and you're the plant expert.
I am, that's what they tell me. All right now you're looking at like our fern section, our tropical plant section. All the stuff on the side of our floor is our plants that are available for sale.
Look at this, look at all of them. And these are all suited for different reptile enclosures and things.
Yep, so we do a bunch of like pre-built kits that are on our website. So we have dart frog kits, crested gecko kits, ball python, any sort of animal. We usually have the plant kit and we have them right over here.
So you don't even have to worry about it. You can go with that animal right there and you automatically know what plants are good for that particular one with the kit.
Yep, so we have the different animals in the different size tanks. So depending on the tank, it's a different amount of plants. We pre-collect them, get them up over here, we get the order, they're ready to go. So here we have a bunch of stuff that's rooting right now. So this is our newest batch of stuff rooting.
And you've got this already made, and you put it together. It wasn't already made. You guys got to do a lot of work to make these.
Yep, so they put them on there, they let them root, and then once they're ready, they'll take the fishing line off and ready to go right into your vivarium.
Right in there for you. Very cool. Well, thank you so much for showing us all these awesome plants.
Thank you for taking a look.